Listen carefully, because this is the part almost nobody understands until it's already too late. Panic doesn't turn people dangerous. It reveals the danger that was hiding inside them the whole time. And the scary twist is that the people you should be most worried about during a blackout, an EMP, or a sudden societal collapse aren't the criminals. You already expect them to be a threat. It's the normal, friendly, everyday people. Neighbors, co-workers, even that quiet guy who always offers you extra tomatoes from his garden, who can transform overnight into something unpredictable, irrational, and in the worst cases, violent. Not because they're evil, but because the human brain is wired to malfunction under uncertainty. Once fear overwhelms logic, the switch flips, and survival instincts hijack the entire system like a corrupted program. The first thing you need to understand is that panic is contagious, not metaphorically, literally. When one person panics, their breathing pattern, speech speed, and even micro-expressions trigger your mirror neurons to replicate the same state. This is why crowds go from calm to chaotic in seconds. During a power grid collapse, you might walk outside just to check if anyone else lost power, and suddenly find yourself absorbing the fear of the crowd like secondhand smoke. Your best defense against that chain reaction is recognizing the early signs. Darting eyes, rapid shallow breaths, people talking too loudly about too little, and that quiet vibrating tension that spreads faster than the blackout itself. When you stay calm, you break the chain. When you let the crowd's fear override you, you join it. That's how normal streets become stampedes. Now here's the strange part. Panic doesn't actually make people run, scream, or flee. Panic makes people freeze. The brain's prefrontal cortex shuts down, the amygdala takes over, and suddenly rational decision-making is replaced by primitive survival reactions. In a collapse scenario, the people who freeze become hazards. They block exits, they hesitate during critical moments, and their indecision creates choke points where others start pushing, shouting, or breaking rules. If you ever want to protect your family in a crisis, the survival technique here is simple. Expect hesitation in others and create space before you need it. Distance equals reaction time. Reaction time equals safety. It's a physics and biology marriage. Your brain needs milliseconds, and distance gives you those milliseconds. But here's where it gets darker. When resources disappear, panic mutates into something more aggressive: competition. The psychology term is resource guarding, and you see it in animals all the time. Humans pretend they're above this instinct until water stops flowing, food shelves empty, and ATMs blink out uselessly. Suddenly, a stranger grabbing the last water bottle feels like a threat to your future survival, and your mind justifies actions you would never consider on a normal day. People don't become dangerous because they're hungry. They become dangerous because scarcity makes them imagine a future where their family suffers. And imagination is a powerful weapon when fear is fueling it. The trick to navigating this phase is avoiding bottlenecks entirely. Never compete where others are panicking. Go off pattern. While people rush supermarkets, you go hardware stores, janitorial supply depots, vending machine warehouses, farm feed shops. The method works because you're avoiding the psychological battleground where crowd instincts activate. Another thing nobody tells you: panic rewrites morality. In survival psychology, there's something called narrowed ethical scope. When fear spikes, people shrink their circle of empathy. Someone who would normally hold the door open for you will shove you out of the way if they think it increases their survival by even 1%. That doesn't make them bad, it makes them human. Your strategy: expand your own awareness instead of narrowing it. When others shrink their world down to me and my own, you maintain situational awareness, scanning for exits, obstacles, energy levels of those around you, and potential points of conflict. You stay 3 decisions ahead while everyone else is stuck reacting to instinct. That's the difference between chaos and control. Let's talk about the most unpredictable version of panic: collective delusion. In disasters, rumors become truth simply because enough frightened people want them to be true. One person whispers, "The dam broke, the air is toxic, looters are coming," and within minutes, whole neighborhoods evacuate in the wrong direction or barricade themselves inside their homes over nothing. The danger here isn't the rumor, it's the stampede that the rumor creates. Your survival technique is information filtering. You trust only what you can see, hear, or verify. Everything else becomes background noise until proven otherwise. Your calm verification becomes a shield against mass insanity. The next transformation is one that catches people off guard: authority collapse. When panic rises, people stop listening to reason, but desperately look for someone, anyone, who sounds confident. This is how crowds follow the loudest voice instead of the smartest one. In a blackout scenario, the person who seems in charge might be the least qualified, so your tool here is controlled confidence. Speak slowly, clearly, and with certainty. Your tone can stabilize people faster than your words. Humans anchor themselves to the calmest presence within 10 meters. When you become that anchor, people stop being unpredictable and start aligning with your stability. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. Finally, the most dangerous form of panic isn't loud, it's silent panic. The person who says nothing, who clenches their jaw, who withdraws from group conversations. This is the person whose decision-making is now internal and unpredictable. They may hoard supplies, lash out, or make a sudden desperate move because they're no longer thinking collaboratively. To survive around them, you maintain gentle communication, not interrogation, just presence. A simple "you good" can reveal whether they're holding fear or holding rage. The method works because acknowledging someone short-circuits panic's panic's isolation loop and brings them back into shared reality. If you paid attention to all this, you now understand the real apocalypse threat isn't zombies or nuclear fallout. It's a poorly wired human brain under stress. And the moment society flickers, millions of those brains switch modes simultaneously. Your job is to stay one psychological step ahead, acting not like prey caught in the panic, but like the quiet observer who already knows how the crowd will move before it moves. Listen, before we go any deeper, you need to understand something most survival books politely tiptoe around. People don't panic because they're weak. They panic because their brains evolved for a world that no longer exists. Once the modern systems you're used to, electricity, predictable food supply, law enforcement, medical access, blink out, the brain defaults to a Stone Age operating system. You start seeing threats everywhere, even where none exist. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Once that switch flips, even the most stable people can make catastrophic decisions that ripple outward and drag others down with them. One of the most dangerous transformations happens when panic turns into tactical paranoia. At first, it feels logical. You double-check locks, you watch shadows, you question noises. But in a prolonged blackout or societal collapse, the brain begins filling silence with assumptions. Your mind creates enemies from shapes, motives from footsteps, danger from uncertainty. This is the phase where normal people start treating every stranger as a potential threat, and every interaction becomes a negotiation of distrust. The survival technique here isn't to trust blindly, it's to build structured trust. Clear communication of boundaries, predictable behavior, and simple agreements reduce uncertainty and prevent misunderstandings from escalating into conflict. Humans fear the unknown more than they fear the dangerous, which means making yourself predictable lowers their perceived threat level and stabilizes interactions. Another layer of panic psychology is something researchers call ego depletion, but it manifests as something much simpler. When people are stressed for too long, they stop thinking altogether. Decision fatigue hits like a silent wave. After hours or days of danger, hunger, or uncertainty, people lose the ability to prioritize. They might ignore water, but obsess over batteries. They might argue over something irrelevant while real danger approaches. They might refuse to evacuate because they're too tired to think about it right now. Recognizing this state in yourself or others is critical. The method here is the single choice reset. Instead of trying to solve everything, focus on one immediate action. Drink water, move to cover, check supplies, breathe deeply for 30 seconds. One correct decision interrupts the downward spiral and resets cognitive function. It's simple, it works, and it's been used in military field operations for decades. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. Then there's the ugly side of human behavior, panic-driven aggression. Most people aren't violent, but fear lowers the threshold drastically. When someone feels trapped physically or psychologically, the brain shifts to a fight-first response. This is why you see otherwise calm people screaming at strangers during disasters, throwing punches at distribution lines, or threatening neighbors over misunderstandings. The key insight here is that aggression is almost always a mask for helplessness. A person who feels cornered will act like a cornered animal. The survival technique is counterintuitive. Don't match their intensity. Lower your voice, slow your gestures, step slightly sideways, not backward. Sideways signals non-threat while still giving space. You are telling their nervous system, you are not trapped. Most aggressive spirals stop right there because the physiological trigger behind them dissolves. But if there's one transformation that truly catches people off guard, it's panic-induced leadership collapse. In normal life, authority figures seem strong because they operate in predictable conditions. But remove electricity, add uncertainty, and you'll watch seemingly competent people fall apart. Eyes darting, speech faltering, decisions delaying. When a leadership collapses, groups fracture. Family units, neighborhoods, even rescue teams can devolve into bickering micro-tribes because nobody wants to step up and risk being wrong. The survival technique here is assuming the role of temporary clarity provider. You don't bark orders, you ask clear binary questions. Do we stay or move? Lights on or off? Block the entrance or keep it open? People in panic respond better to choices than commands, and once the first decision is made, momentum carries the group forward. Now let's talk about panic memory distortion, one of the strangest psychological effects you'll ever witness. Under extreme stress, people misremember timelines, exaggerate threats, or insist something happened that simply didn't. Their brains are stitching fragmented sensory impressions into a narrative that makes emotional sense, not factual sense. This is why testimonies during disasters are so chaotic. Everyone thinks they saw something different. The survival technique here is anchoring reality. Repeat verifiable facts out loud. Keep short written notes or record observations. When panic warps memory, your documented reality becomes a stabilizing force. Without it, a group can end up operating on false assumptions that put them in real danger. Let's go one layer deeper into the human mind. Panic doesn't feel like fear. It feels like urgency without direction. Your heart races, but you don't know why. Your hands shake, but you can't explain it. The instinct is to just do something, even when that something is pointless or harmful. This is where people make the worst survival decisions. Running into the dark without supplies, abandoning shelter during storms, or confronting strangers unnecessarily. The fix is what special operations teams call immediate grounding. You verbally identify your environment. I'm here. The threat is there. My options are these. This forces the brain to shift from limbic reaction to prefrontal processing. It's the mental equivalent of slamming the brakes on a runaway car. And finally, the transformation transformation that truly makes normal people dangerous. Collective identity collapse. In everyday life, your identity is reinforced by routine, your job, your habits, your relationships. But in a crisis, those identities disintegrate. When people don't know who they are in the new world, they grasp for any identity available. Victim, aggressor, protector, hoarder, follower. Identity dictates behavior, and when it's unstable, behavior becomes unpredictable. The survival strategy is to define your role early. Say it out loud if you have to. I'm the planner, I'm the lookout, I'm the calm one. When you declare your role, others unconsciously stabilize their identities around you. Humans mirror structure, and if you provide it, they'll align with it rather than spiral away from it. So if you ever wonder how normal people can turn dangerous overnight, the answer is brutally simple. Remove stability, remove certainty, remove the systems that kept their primal instincts in check, and the ancient operating system takes over. Panic isn't an emotion, it's a takeover. But once you understand the mechanics behind it, once you know how to read it, interrupt it, and navigate around it, you stop being part of the crowd and start being the person who survives the crowd.